Welcome back once again to the Diplomatic Lounge. Today, January 20, is traditionally Presidential Inauguration Day in the United States. It's already a bit of an issue who is going to be there and who is not going to be there for the ceremony, but I have to say that one of the sorriest spectacles playing out before our eyes are the leading US industrialists lining up to kiss Donald Trump's hand, and you know what I really mean. Towards the end of the same month of January, back in 1933 in Germany, another false prophet was sworn in. The great industrialists of his country welcomed him as their savior too. He promised full employment and, well, he delivered it only, of course, by turning his country into a war machine. But what the heck? Now, what about Mr. Trump's future economics? Will the supposed champion of the common man deliver cheaper eggs, better and better paid jobs, maybe rescue from the immense sadness of neglected and abandoned Middle America? Let's see. The new Department of Government Efficiency, to be led by Elon Musk, promises deep cuts in public spending. Now let's look at the tragic fires in Los Angeles. As much as the reality of climate change, and not forgetting the human tragedy, the fires illustrate that the United States for the longest time has not had too much government, but the wrong kind. The disaster in LA is also the result of poor or absent planning, vintage infrastructure, inadequate building codes, in short, neglect of the public space and the public good. It's a typical phenomenon. Yet it's a myth that there is no vast public sector in the United States. There is, but again, it's the wrong one. It's the war machine. I don't want to play the superior European. We should all sweep our own doorstep, and unfortunately much of the worst of human history has been made in Europe by us Europeans. Till recently, though, I would have ventured to say that we had learned so much from our past mistakes. At any rate, in terms of public spending, we have had generations of politicians who realized the importance of infrastructure and social services. Having lived on the American side of the Atlantic for most of our adult lives, we realize the contrast even more when we settle back in Europe after retirement a few years ago. But seeing populism on the rise here too, and some European politicians also lining up for the presidential handkiss, I have my doubts now about how much longer Europe will manage to preserve those gains. One of Trump's worst characteristics is how he divides not only his own people, but finds a vicious pleasure in spreading division worldwide, especially within the fragile European Union. When governing models of the Trump or even the Putin type are becoming attractive to certain politicians in Europe, the EU is not in good shape. And it's happening in several places, Italy, Hungary, and more. Part of the issue on this side of the Atlantic is that to present generations the memory of the monsters of the 1930s has faded. Luckily, though, that is not the case in Spain, where we now live. Probably thanks to the fact that the last of those monsters, Franco, lived as long as 1975, long after Hitler, Stalin, and Mussolini were gone. But we have a new threesome now. During his first term as a president, Mr. Trump met with Vladimir Putin, with Xi Jinping, and with Kim Jong-un. It didn't stop the first one from invading and massacring Ukraine, nor the second one from threatening Taiwan and enforcing the mortgage he's holding on America, nor the third one to play with a forbidden nuclear arsenal on the backs of a starving population. As a lifelong diplomat, foreign relations are as important to me as domestic issues. Where does Trump too lead, domestically and internationally? I hope, against my own better judgment, to be surprised on both counts by the incoming president. We know that the German prophet of 1933, so heartily welcomed both by admiring crowds and scheming industrialists, brought upon his country a terrible, terrible tragedy, with his runaway hubris. No one wants to see this repeated anywhere, even on a smaller and less bloody scale. But when hubris is the only drive of a leader, we cannot be blind to the great potential for harm in the next 4 years. Then again, much of Trump is just chest thumping. After the sound and fury, maybe we settle in a reign of contradictions and inconsistencies, with Trump the captain of a ship of fools without any notion of navigation. Much of his chosen crew so far tends to confirm that. So we're swinging between potential tragedy and utter farce. Which way will it go? Maybe a few people in fancy offices will soon regret that they have lined up for the presidential hand kiss. There is one last telling detail about Elon Musk's government efficiency plans. How many millions of taxpayers' money were already spent on the cancelled traditional inauguration ceremony? Is that efficiency? We're off to a telling start with a bully and a spoiled brat who can't face an hour in the cold, not even to please his adoring crowds. Let's see where we go from here. Thank you and see you next time.